Yo, what up you guys? It's your boy the Kryptonian Satan here bringing you a review for One Piece chapter 256, and I love me some flashbacks, man. Blame it on the whole Naruto experience, because God knows the second half of that manga was filled with fucking flashbacks, okay? But maybe I've been under the flashback no jutsu too long, but I love seeing that flashback that we had where basically, Brahm is recalling Wyper and his rise to power, if you will, and how he told Gan Fall, I don't care if you view the people in Skypiea to be innocent. I don't care if you're saying that you're willing to negotiate. Bring me 100 heads of the people you deem to be innocent, and then we'll talk. And I like that because it shows something about the human psyche. And that's what I'm talking about. Oda is mixing in some gems in this. And what I'm referring to is people, when they've been hurt and when they've been wrong, sometimes it's so hard for them to be able to see past their own pain and their own hurt and see things with an objective stance. And that's what's going on with Wyper. He had somebody at the table willing to make things right. And when you get to that position, you have to be willing to meet them halfway, okay? And I don't know if it's because he's still young for the most part, because he looks noticeably younger in that panel than he does now. You know, he seems more battle heavy, war torn now opposed to then. So I'm assuming that's around the time that, you know, he first emerged as the leader. And one of the things after the flashback is over, he says that if you're not willing to lay everything down, you must be left behind. And that's another big gem, because that is the truth. Anytime you want something in life, you have to be willing to go 110% towards it. If you go 90%, you're always going to fall short. So I like just the different contrasts. It just shows how different people's experiences, they can have you doing the right thing, or they can have you viewing things in the correct manner, and yet at the same time you're jaded. You're basically jaded by your experiences, and so that's actually a good thing when you look at Wyper in this sense, because he understands the seriousness of it, but he's going about it in the wrong way, but he believes it to be the right way because of everything that he's been through. So I like seeing that, and it goes into something that takes place in the Kami Palace that Enryu has to tell his men, like, look, you're not taking the Scandians, you're not taking them seriously enough. You can't underestimate their hidden potential, and that's exactly what he's referring to. Hatred is a very strong emotion. I mean, human emotions, period, is kind of like Gohan in Dragon Ball, where literally Gohan has the most potential, and it's because he's a Saiyajin or a Saiyan, and because he's half human as well. Humans have emotions, and to different beings like a Saiyajin, who they have emotions but they're not emotional creatures, and just in general, you know, emotion seems like a weakness, and yet those strong emotions can force you to reach new levels, to take things further than anything you've done before. And just looking at the hate that fuels them, the passion that is behind all of this, Enryu's absolutely right for that reason, because they believe their sense of justice is that strong, and in a way they're right. So because they know that they're in the right on this as well, they're not going to back down easily. Some people, they've got weak hearts, and yet you have people like Wyper, who they push through the pain, and because they're fueled by their desires. And so when he takes on Shura, after Shura has all of these men trapped in his string challenge, right? Shura, you know, uses his looks like a lance or a spear, but he spears him right in the shoulder, and basically Wyper eats that shit, and he presses him right in the chest with it, and he ends up landing a pretty solid blow. Looks like that's actually over. And what I thought was interesting about that is it fits right into what Enryu was saying. And at the end of the chapter it says, first game in the upper yard, 1 down. And so it goes from 81 players to 80, and that was very beautiful, man. That was beautiful to see that. And it also makes me question what I was saying about Enel, because I was going, well, if Enel or Enryu, if he's really like Luffy, then that's exactly what he's doing. And yet in the last chapter review, I said that he's more calculating and smart. And yet when we look at his mannerisms, it's Luffy on steroids. Like just the way he's eating and the way he's carrying himself. It's almost like he's a wiser version, a wiser and more serious version of Luffy. I guess that's a good way to put it. But the thing is, which I can't wait to see those two together. But the thing is that I'm seeing that is I'm looking at those mannerisms. I'm looking at how he's breaking it down. I'm like, that arrogance is going to be his downfall. And we've seen this multiple times with One Piece where the villain underestimates Luffy and it's because of the arrogance. But in this case, it's more he's overestimating his own abilities. He's not underestimating the people that are getting ready to fight him. Not by a long shot. He even warns his underlings. And Enryu, Enel, whichever pronunciation it is, I love this guy because I could definitely see him doing a little bit of trash talking, as The Rock used to say, you know, laying the smack down and putting boots to asses, okay? But the thing is he understands that these guys have latent potential. They could probably defeat his men, and if he doesn't take them seriously, that he could end up losing. And yet it's because he knows how powerful he is, and because he's got the title of Kami, he's like, I'm not even worried about him. So it's like he's underestimating him, but he isn't. It's like if he fights someone like Luffy, he's not going to make the mistake that Crocodile made, where he's just like, why does this guy keep coming back at me? Because each time Luffy fought Crocodile, he was figuring him out. He's getting a little bit stronger from each experience. Not so much physically stronger, but as far as battle experience, you know, he was getting there. So I could see him not underestimating Luffy and maybe finishing Luffy off during that first confrontation. I hope this isn't like what happened in Alabasta, where Luffy and Enryu, they have multiple confrontations. I'd like to just see a build up towards a good old-fashioned, you know, Western showdown where you got like the cloud of dust and like the distance, and they just go at it and it's a slugfest, man. I would like to see that. I can't wait to see that actual battle, because this is the first time we've seen Luffy fight someone this powerful. So that would be interesting on this. Another thing on the chapter story, so apparently we have Wyper Metal, and that's a very interesting name. You know, one thing that Oda did talk about in the foreword for this volume, and I think it's interesting, is he says, writing it, quote, if I were to liken creating manga to a game, I would say it's like Tetris. I take all the ideas that were scattered inside my head like pieces of a puzzle, and I put them together in a story, and whenever I'm having trouble making the pieces fit, I take a break from the manga and play actual things like Tetris. When I envision the building blocks up one after another in my head, I think to myself, Tetris is so much fun, yippee. And it's what I told you guys about funneling, which is you have a whole bunch of ideas and you slowly weave them in to where they start to fit into one cohesive story, which is why series like One Piece, I feel like you have to take them chapter by chapter to analyze, but you also owe it to Oda to go back and look at the whole arc after it finishes, even with the hindsight information that you have, in order to better appreciate what he's doing. Because if you go week by week, I can understand some people say the pacing's slow, or what the hell is he doing? This wasn't really needed. And yet it's just like Tetris. You're moving different pieces around. Sometimes they don't fit, and you have to kind of build around them. You have to work with who you've already laid down. Like, oh, that might have been a mistake in the last chapter. Let me do a little small retcon here. Just little small things. You see it when you read Oda's work, man. So I like, once again, how Viz is strategically placing stuff into these volumes that fits what's going on with the different chapters, man. So very good, man. Very good chapter. My chapter question for you guys is going to be related to pride, okay? Has there ever been a situation where you yourself have underestimated someone, or have you been in a situation where you've been the one underestimated? And then on the other side, has there ever been a situation where you were well aware of the capabilities of someone you were competing with or whatever, and you looked at them and you were more confident in your own abilities? So have you ever been overconfident in yourself, or have you ever underestimated someone? I guess that's a better way to clean that up. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, hit that like button, comment, rate, subscribe, share. I will greatly appreciate it.